In the 2012 NFL Draft, it was up in the air as to who would go number 1. Some people had Baylor's RG3, while some more unhinged folks wanted to see Alabama's Trent Richardson go first. Then, the more likely option was Stanford quarterback Andrew Luck. Suck for Luck ran wild in 2011 with the Peyton Manningless Colts gunning for the rights to the 6'4 quarterback. Luck, who many would say was the nicest man in the game, would continuously have great seasons when healthy. But therein lied the problem. Luck could not stay healthy for very long during his time. Even when he played, more often than not, he was playing with some sort of injury. In a shocking move, Andrew Luck would go on to retire 2 weeks before the start of the 2019 season. While he was initially booed by his fans in Indy, many came to the defense of Luck in his decision. While I'm not questioning his decision, it does create the question about his NFL career. So with that being said, this video will take a dive into the career of Andrew Luck to see just how good he was. Before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for the support. If you guys could like, comment, and subscribe, it goes a long way. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and begin the story of Andrew Luck. And let's start at the very beginning. Luck was born in the nation's capital on September 12, 1989. His father, Oliver Luck, was best known as the commissioner for the first edition of the XFL back in 2000. He also spent time as a quarterback for the Houston Oilers. During his adolescence, his family would move to Texas, where he would make a big name for himself. Per Rivals.com, he was a 4-star recruit and the 4th best quarterback in the nation. The highly rated quarterback would eventually commit to play for Jim Harbaugh at Stanford. After redshirting in 2008, Luck would be unleashed in 2009 and would only get better as each season progressed. Luck would win numerous awards in his 3-year stretch that would cement him as the can't-miss franchise quarterback for any team in need of one. Fast forwarding to the 2012 draft, the 2-14 Colts would snag Luck with the first overall pick, ending the Manning era in the process. And it goes without saying that Luck had his work cut out for him. He is replacing a future first ballot Hall of Famer in Peyton Manning, the same Manning that was able to bring in 5 MVPs and a Super Bowl back to Indy. Luck, unfazed by the pressure, would immediately make an impact and help turn the Colts franchise back over to one of the better teams in the NFL. In his rookie year, the Colts would have a 9-game improvement from the year prior, going from a 2-14 record to 11-5. Luck would throw 23 touchdowns to 18 interceptions, but had another 5 touchdowns on the ground. One other stat to note as well is that Luck would be sacked 41 times in his rookie campaign. Luck would come in second in Rookie of the Year votings behind only RG3 and would earn a Pro Bowl nod, and the Colts would earn a playoff spot. And while Luck didn't have the best showing in that wild card game, when you remember that this team had just won 2 games the year prior and that the team that they lost to ended up becoming the Super Bowl champions themselves, you kind of felt like the sky was the limit for the Indianapolis Colts. The next 2 seasons would be 2 more 11-5 campaigns, with Luck's statistics getting better in both years. He'd earn his first playoff win in 2013 in a thriller against the Chiefs, but would ultimately fall short to the New England Patriots. 2014 would be his breakout year though, as the number 1 overall pick would throw 40 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. Amassing over 4,700 pass yards, Luck would be ranked the 7th best player in the NFL Top 100, and the Colts owned the number 1 passing attack this year. To go with an impressive regular season, they took a step in the right direction in the playoffs themselves, knocking off the Bengals in the wild card, then following it up to defeat the Broncos in the divisional, overcoming the man he replaced in Peyton Manning, but would unfortunately get blown out by Tom Brady's Patriots. Luck would have one of the worst games of his career, totaling a measly 126 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions in a 45-7 rout. While this was a deflating loss, of course, Luck and the Colts have now not only made the playoffs in each of his first 3 seasons since being drafted, but have made it further each season too. Would it all finally come together in 2015? The 2015 Colts had one goal in mind. The goal was now Super Bowl or bust. As much pressure as these guys would be in, it didn't make a difference though in the end, as their franchise quarterback would be plagued with injuries this season. Starting first in weeks 4 and 5 with a shoulder injury and then a lacerated kidney following a game against the Broncos, Luck would end his season with a 2-5 record as a starter. So in a twist of fate, following his greatest season in the NFL in 2014, Luck would follow it up with the worst season of his career in 2015, having a 15-12 touchdown to interception ratio and career lows in QBR, passer rating, and yards per game. The hits had finally caught up to Luck. And if you remember in his rookie year, I mentioned that he had been sacked 41 times. That was actually the start of a brutal cycle for the guy. While the 41 was the most that he had ever taken in 2012, when you look at the highlights, this guy was getting hit pretty often, even if it wasn't recorded as a sack. And that's not even including that in the first 4 seasons of his career, Luck would run the ball 222 times. That wasn't very common for a quarterback back in the day, and Luck was not known to slide that often. The Colts would finish 8-8, missing the playoffs for the first time in the Andrew Luck era, but the Colts weren't too worried, as later that year, they had signed Luck to a 6-year, $140 million extension, making him the highest paid player in the NFL. 2016 was a step back into normality, as Luck would bounce back from his horrendous 2015 campaign, but he still wasn't completely there. It would turn out that after the season, Luck would need surgery to repair his bad shoulder. The hope was that he would return to the team at some point for the 2017 season. That unfortunately did not come into fruition. While the timetable was pushed back significantly in his recovery, Luck would finally be able to return in the 2018 season. Although the Colts had started out 1-5, they would turn it around midway through the season, winning 5 straight games and overall winning 9 of their last 10 games. The Colts were on fire, and it looked like prime Luck was back. But after a good showing against the Texans in the wild card, the Colts were sent back home in the divisional game against the Mahomes-led Chiefs. Luck finished the season with a return to form, 39 touchdowns, and 4,593 pass yards. And, believe it or not, a career low in sacks at just 18, earning a well-deserved Comeback Player of the Year award and another Pro Bowl nod. With this impressive performance, Colts fans could not wait for the start of the 2019 season, until the inevitable happened. In a preseason game 2 weeks before the start of the regular season, Andrew Luck would go on to announce his retirement from the NFL, sending shockwaves throughout the league and amongst fans alike. To make matters worse, upon learning this information, the Colts fans would turn on the 29-year-old when the news broke out in the stadium. With a chorus of boos beaming down on the field that left an already broken man even more hurt. So what exactly did happen? Why did Andrew Luck choose to call it quits when he did? Well, we can learn from the man himself. According to an interview Luck did with ESPN, Luck was asked by executives when he would, quote, turn it on. To which Luck replied, "I'm not." Now I'm paraphrasing here when I say this, but in the interview he goes on to say that he hadn't been able to live the life he had wanted due to the grueling nature of the NFL. As he informed his teammates, they could see the relief in the eyes of a man who was in bad shape. The Colts, with Luck, were on paper a Super Bowl contender. However, one of the few people who didn't believe this was Andrew Luck. And while Luck was sad that this part of his life was over, as I said before, there was a sense of relief for the man. This was someone who had stated he fell out of love with the game of football, and from his point of view, he gave it everything he had. Luck would go on to finish his career with a 53-33 record, a 171-83 touchdown to interception ratio, over 23,000 passing yards, and a 4-4 playoff record. So now we come back full circle to the question: how good was Andrew Luck actually? When Luck was on the field, he was easily a top 10, fringe top 5 quarterback during his career, but even then it's hard to give him that top 5 distinction. Luck was great, but always just a tier below the likes of Aaron Rodgers, pre-2015 Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. And from there, while I agree that it was debatable, I haven't even mentioned Big Ben, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, and even Russell Wilson, who was from the same draft class. It's hard to put this guy, really high up there because there was just so many really good quarterbacks at this time. At his peak in 2014, okay, he was a top 5 quarterback. But to me, that was it. So when you combine the fact that he was always good, but really only one season was he ever great, with a relatively short career, if I had to give the NFL career of Andrew Luck a grade where an A+ is a first ballot Hall of Famer and an F is a bust or a flameout, I think Luck gets maybe a B or a B+. Today, Andrew Luck is enjoying a very peaceful life away from the social media life. He has no official social media account, but returned to college to earn his master's in education. He also took a job in 2023 to be a part-time coach at a local high school. So I do think he is happy at the end of the day. He still got to play at the highest level and at certain points in his career looked to be like one of the best the league had to offer. So while I gave him a B+, what do you guys think? What would you guys give the career of Andrew Luck if you could give him a grade? That's it for this video, you guys. Thank you guys so much for your support. We're on the road to 2,000 subs. I may do a special. I'm just, having a brain fart as to what that would even be. But if you guys want to see a special, let me know in the comments as well below. Be sure to thumbs up this video. And if you have a suggestion on who I should talk about next, whether good or bad, leave it in the comments below as well. If I use it, I'll give you guys a shout out. That's it for this video, guys. And until next time, shoo boy!